You're falling. Wind rushes past. Your stomach drops. The ground races toward you. Then BAM. You jolt awake, heart pounding. It was just a dream, but why did it feel so real? Hey there, welcome to the Hidden Academy. Today we're diving into a mystery we all experience but rarely question. Why our dreams feel as real as waking life. Think about it. You'll spend about 25 years of your life dreaming. That's a quarter century in worlds that vanish when you wake up. Or do they? Ancient Egyptians, Tibetan mystics, and Aboriginal cultures never questioned whether dreams were real. They saw them as journeys to other realms of existence. It wasn't until modern science came along that we started calling these vivid experiences just random brain activity. But here's where things get interesting. Cutting-edge research is now suggesting something mind-blowing. Your dreams might not be hallucinations at all. They might be glimpses into other dimensions of reality. What if that dream where you could fly actually happened? What if that conversation with your departed grandmother really took place? What if the boundaries between dreaming and waking aren't as solid as we've been taught? In the next few minutes, I'll show you why so many scientists and spiritual traditions throughout history have reached the same shocking conclusion. Your dreams might be every bit as real as your waking life, just operating under different rules. And once you understand this, you'll never experience reality the same way again. Our modern dismissal of dreams as not real is actually a relatively recent idea, a tiny blip in humanity's long relationship with dreaming. Let's travel back to ancient Egypt, over 5,000 years ago. Egyptians didn't just value dreams. They built entire temples dedicated to them. The temples of Serapis contained special chambers called dream incubation rooms, where people would sleep in hopes of receiving divine guidance or healing. Dream priests, yes, that was an actual profession, would interpret these experiences as communications from beyond the physical world. In the hieroglyphic language of Egypt, the same symbol was used for both to dream and to be awakened. Think about that. The culture that built the pyramids saw dreaming not as a descent into illusion, but as an awakening to higher truth. Move east to ancient India, where the Upanishads, text dating back to 800 BCE, described 4 states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and turiya, pure consciousness. Dreams weren't considered less real than waking life, just a different level of experience. The Mandukya Upanishad specifically states that the dream state has its own reality with 7 limbs and 19 mouths. Poetic language describing the complete world we experience while dreaming. In Tibet, an entire spiritual practice called dream yoga developed around the reality of dreams. Tibetan Buddhists didn't try to interpret their dreams. They learned to become consciously aware within them, using dreams as training grounds for enlightenment. The reasoning was simple. If you can recognize the dreamlike nature of your sleeping experience, you'll eventually recognize the dreamlike nature of your waking experience too. The indigenous Australian concept of dream time, or the dreaming, takes this even further. For Aboriginal cultures, the dream time isn't just something that happens when you're asleep. It's an entire dimension of reality that exists alongside the physical world, a realm where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. Their ancestors' spirits actively shape reality from this dimension. Even in Western traditions, dreams held profound significance. The ancient Greeks built dream temples called Asclepions, where the sick would sleep in hopes that the god Asclepius would visit their dreams and heal them or prescribe treatment. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, regularly used his patients' dreams for diagnosis. So what happened? How do we go from seeing dreams as gateways to other realities to dismissing them as mere neural static? The shift began during the scientific revolution and accelerated during the Enlightenment. As the mechanistic worldview took hold, anything that couldn't be measured with physical instruments became suspect. René Descartes' famous statement, "I think, therefore I am," was actually part of an argument about dreams. He was searching for what could be known with certainty, even if one's sensory experiences, including dreams, were deceptive. By the late 19th century, Sigmund Freud revolutionized how we think about dreams. but in doing so, he ironically diminished their status. By portraying dreams as expressions of repressed desires from our personal unconscious, he relocated them from external reality to internal psychology. Dreams were no longer visitations to other realms, but symptoms of our psychological machinery. This view peaked in the mid-20th century when researchers discovered REM sleep. Once we could measure the physical correlates of dreaming, the mainstream scientific community largely settled on the explanation that dreams are nothing more than the brain's attempt to make sense of random neural firing during sleep maintenance. Case closed? Not quite, because while mainstream science was dismissing dreams as meaningless brain chatter, quantum physics was dismantling the very notion of objective reality that this dismissal was based on. The discoveries of quantum mechanics have revealed that reality at its foundation isn't made of solid objects in fixed positions, but probabilities and relationships. The famous double-slit experiment showed that particles exist as waves of probability until observed. The observer effect demonstrated that consciousness itself plays a role in determining physical reality. Quantum entanglement proved that separated particles can remain connected across any distance, suggesting a universe of profound interconnection beyond space and time. In this quantum view of reality, the sharp line between objective and subjective experience begins to blur. If physical reality itself is shaped by observation, can we really dismiss consciousness experiences like dreams as not real simply because they don't conform to our waking consensus reality? As physicist and consciousness researcher David Bohm put it, reality is what we take to be true. What we take to be true is what we believe. What we believe is based upon our perceptions. What we perceive depends upon what we look for. What we look for depends upon what we think. What we think depends upon what we perceive. What we perceive determines what we believe. What we believe determines what we take to be true. What we take to be true is our reality. This circular relationship between perception and reality opens fascinating possibilities about the nature of dreams. Possibilities that ancient cultures understood intuitively, and that cutting-edge science is now beginning to rediscover. But to truly understand why your dreams feel so real, we need to examine what's actually happening in your brain and consciousness when you dream, and the evidence might shock you. When you're dreaming, your brain isn't just randomly firing neurons. It's creating an experience that neuroscientists now confirm is remarkably similar to waking consciousness. Let's start with what modern brain imaging has revealed. During REM sleep, when most vivid dreaming occurs, your visual cortex activates just as powerfully as when you're awake and seeing. Your motor cortex lights up when you dream of running. Your emotional centers, particularly the amygdala, often become even more active than during waking hours, explaining the intense emotions many dreams generate. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. While these sensory and emotional brain regions are buzzing with activity, your prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for logical thinking and critical analysis, shows reduced activity. This explains why you don't question the bizarre events in your dreams. You're experiencing reality through pure perception, without the analytical filter that constantly judges what's possible in your waking life. In other words, your brain processes dream experiences as real events. From your brain's perspective, that dragon you were fighting last night was just as real as the coffee you're drinking right now. But wait, if dreams are just hallucinations created by our brains, why do they often contain information we couldn't possibly know? Consider the documented phenomenon of veridical dreams. Dreams that contain verifiable information the dreamer had no way of knowing through normal means. The scientific literature contains thousands of these cases, many thoroughly investigated. In 1865, Abraham Lincoln dreamed of his own assassination just days before it happened, describing details that later proved accurate. In 1975, psychiatrist Dr. Ian Stevenson documented a case where a woman dreamed the exact location of her father's hidden will in a clock behind a specific panel. information she had no conscious knowledge of. The Sanwa people of Malaysia have practiced communal dream sharing for centuries, using information gained in dreams to make hunting decisions, often with uncanny accuracy about where animals would be found. In laboratory settings, studies on remote viewing during dreams have shown statistically significant results, with dreamers accurately describing target locations they've never visited. These aren't just coincidences or cherry-picked anecdotes. A meta-analysis of dream precognition studies published in the journal Psychological Bulletin showed an overall effect size that's difficult to dismiss as mere chance. Even more compelling is the phenomenon of shared dreams. When two or more people report having the same dream, with matching details neither could have known. Dr. Stanley Krippner conducted rigorous experiments at the Maimonides Dream Laboratory where subjects were repeatedly able to dream about randomly selected target images that others were focusing on, with success rates far exceeding statistical probability. The conventional scientific explanation that dreams are merely our brains processing memories and emotions simply cannot account for these phenomena. Something more is happening. This brings us to one of the most remarkable aspects of dreaming: lucid dreaming, the state of becoming consciously aware that you're dreaming while still in the dream. Once considered fringe pseudoscience, lucid dreaming has been definitively proven in laboratory settings. Researchers like Stephen LaBerge at Stanford University have demonstrated that lucid dreamers can perform prearranged eye movement signals during REM sleep, confirming they've achieved awareness within their dreams. What lucid dreamers report is astonishing. Environments as detailed and complex as waking reality, the ability to control elements of a dream, and experiences that feel hyperreal, often more vivid than waking life. Many describe accessing information they didn't consciously know and returning with insights that transformed their waking lives. The implications are profound. If dreams were merely random neural firing, becoming conscious within them should reveal a chaotic, half-formed reality. Instead, lucid dreamers discover fully realized worlds with their own consistent physics and logic. Worlds that seem to exist independent of the dreamer's expectations. This has led some researchers to propose radical new models of consciousness and reality. The quantum field theory of consciousness, developed by scientists like Stuart Hameroff and Roger Penrose, suggests that consciousness isn't produced by the brain, but is a fundamental property of the universe, with the brain acting as a receiver that tunes into different frequencies of consciousness under different conditions. In this model, dreaming isn't creating an artificial reality, but tuning into other aspects of a multidimensional universe. The simulation hypothesis, seriously considered by physicists and philosophers alike, proposes that all reality, including what we consider waking life, may be a type of sophisticated simulation or construct. In this model, the differences between dreaming and waking are merely different software environments running on the same consciousness hardware. Perhaps most provocative is the possibility raised by developments in string theory and M theory, that our universe is just one of many in a vast multiverse, with parallel dimensions existing alongside our own. Could our dreams be glimpses into these parallel realities? Some physicists, including Nobel Prize winner Wolfgang Pauli, have suggested exactly this possibility. These aren't just abstract theories. They offer potential explanations for why dreams can contain information we couldn't know, why they feel so fundamentally real to our brains, and why the boundary between dreaming and waking consciousness becomes increasingly blurry the more closely we examine it. But to truly understand the reality of dreams, we need to look at the most advanced research on consciousness itself, and the evidence that your consciousness might not be confined to your brain at all. The most revolutionary idea emerging from consciousness research is that your mind might not be locked inside your skull. This concept, once dismissed as mystical thinking, is gaining serious scientific traction, and it completely transforms our understanding of dreams. The conventional model of consciousness assumes your mind is created by your brain, like software running on computer hardware. But this model faces a serious problem that scientists call the hard problem of consciousness. How does physical brain matter produce subjective experience? Despite centuries of research, we have no mechanism that explains how electrochemical signals become the felt experience of seeing blue, feeling joy, or tasting chocolate. This has led prominent researchers like Dr. Bernardo Kastrup and Dr. Donald Hoffman to propose alternative models where consciousness isn't produced by the brain, but is fundamental to reality itself. In these models, your brain doesn't generate consciousness but constrains and localizes it. Like a TV receives signals but doesn't create the programs. If consciousness is fundamental rather than a byproduct of brain activity, this opens a startling possibility. When you sleep, these constraints might be loosened, allowing your consciousness to experience beyond the limitations of your physical senses. This isn't just philosophical speculation. Studies on near-death experiences, NDEs, provide compelling evidence that consciousness can operate independently of brain function. Dr. Sam Parney is aware, studied, documented verified cases of cardiac arrest patients accurately reporting details of their resuscitation from perspectives outside their bodies, when their brains showed no detectable activity on EEG monitors. Similarly, terminal lucidity, when patients with severe dementia or brain damage suddenly become coherent and clear just before death, suggests consciousness might not depend entirely on brain function. How can a severely damaged brain suddenly produce clear consciousness if the brain is generating the mind? These findings align perfectly with what lucid dreamers report. Consciousness operating with enhanced capabilities when freed from normal physical limitations. Dr. Thomas Metzinger, a leading philosopher of mind, suggests that both dreaming and waking are models of reality created by consciousness, neither more fundamentally real than the other, just optimized for different environments. The waking model is optimized for survival in physical reality, while the dreaming model is freed from these constraints. This explains one of the most remarkable aspects of dreams, their creative power. People throughout history have received groundbreaking insights through dreams. Chemist Auguste Kekulé discovered the ring structure of benzene after dreaming of a snake biting its own tail. Elias Howe finalized the design for the sewing machine needle after dreaming of spears with holes in their tips. Mathematician Srimivasa Ramanujan attributed his revolutionary equations to the goddess Namagiri, who visited his dreams. Paul McCartney composed Yesterday after hearing the complete melody in a dream. When freed from physical constraints, consciousness appears capable of accessing information and creativity beyond normal waking capabilities. Even more intriguing is mounting evidence for non-local consciousness, the ability of consciousness to access information regardless of physical distance or barriers. The Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research pair laboratory conducted rigorous experiments over 28 years demonstrating that consciousness can influence physical random systems and access information across spatial and temporal boundaries. In the realm of dreams, this could explain prophetic dreams, shared dreams between multiple people, and dreams that contain information impossible to know through normal means. If consciousness isn't confined to the brain, these phenomena become not just possible, but expected. The Global Consciousness Project, run by researchers from Princeton and other institutions, has collected over 20 years of data suggesting human consciousness can behave in coordinated ways across the globe, particularly during major events that capture collective attention. Their findings suggest an interconnected field of consciousness that individual minds tap into. Precisely what many dream researchers propose explains shared symbolic content across dreamers. Indigenous traditions worldwide have maintained for thousands of years that dreams provide access to a field of knowledge, or dreaming reality, that exists independently of the physical dreamer. Australian Aboriginal traditions describe the dream time as an objectively real dimension that ancestors and skilled practitioners can access through dreaming. The consistency of these traditions across cultures that never contacted each other suggests they weren't simply inventing similar ideas, but experiencing similar realities. Modern dream research increasingly supports these ancient claims. Studies on dream telepathy at the Maimonides Sleep Laboratory showed statistically significant results when participants were able to dream about randomly selected target images that others were focusing on in separate rooms. Similar protocols have been replicated at other research centers with comparable results. What emerges from both ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science is a model where consciousness is the fundamental reality. In both waking experience and dreams are different ways consciousness manifests, neither inherently more real than the other. This explains why your dreams feel so real. They're real experiences of consciousness, just operating under different constraints than your waking consciousness. Your brain processes these experiences as real because, at the level of consciousness, they are real. But this raises a profound question. If dreams are authentic experiences of consciousness, what exactly are you experiencing when you dream? And how can you use this understanding to transform both your dreaming and waking life? Understanding that your dreams might be real experiences of consciousness rather than mere fantasy opens extraordinary possibilities for how you engage with them. Let's explore how you can apply this knowledge to transform both your dream life and waking reality. The first practical step is developing dream recall. If dreams are valuable experiences rather than meaningless brain activity, remembering them becomes essential. Here's a simple but powerful technique. Before sleeping, set a clear intention to remember your dreams. Place a notebook by your bed, and as soon as you wake, before checking your phone or even moving much, write down whatever dream fragments you recall. Even if it's just a feeling or image, record it. Within weeks, most people find their dream recall dramatically improves from perhaps one dream a month to multiple dreams each night. This simple practice often reveals something remarkable. Your dreams aren't random. They contain patterns, recurring themes, and sometimes surprising continuity, as if you were visiting ongoing worlds rather than experiencing disjointed hallucinations. The next level is lucid dreaming, becoming consciously aware while dreaming. Unlike ordinary dreams where you're swept along unquestioningly, lucid dreams allow you to maintain your critical thinking and make conscious choices within the dream environment. Contrary to popular belief, lucid dreaming isn't difficult to learn. The most reliable technique is reality testing, regularly questioning whether you're dreaming during your waking hours. Several times daily, ask yourself, am I dreaming? While performing a test like trying to push your finger through your palm or checking whether text remains stable when you look away and back again. In dreams, text typically changes when reread. After practicing these reality checks for a few weeks, your mind begins performing them automatically during dreams, triggering lucidity. Success rates in laboratory studies show that most people can achieve lucidity within 1 to 2 months of consistent practice. Once lucid, the possibilities are extraordinary. Practitioners report flying through space, conversing with seemingly autonomous dream figures who provide unexpected insights, and experiencing states of consciousness impossible in waking life. Many describe accessing information they had no conscious knowledge of, from creative solutions to personal insights to seemingly prophetic glimpses of future events. Think of it as consciousness exploration without the constraints of physical laws. But the implications go far beyond exciting dream adventures. If dreams and waking reality are different experiences of the same fundamental consciousness, the boundaries between them aren't as fixed as we assume. This understanding opens another level of practice, conscious reality creation. Many experienced dreamers report a fascinating phenomenon. Events and symbols from their lucid dreams begin appearing in their waking life. It's as if becoming conscious within the dream state enhances your ability to influence the waking state as well. The mechanism may involve what quantum physicists call the observer effect, the discovery that the act of conscious observation affects quantum outcomes. If consciousness is fundamental rather than emergent, this influence might operate across both dreaming and waking experiences. This isn't magical thinking, but the practical application of consciousness principles. By recognizing reality as more fluid and consciousness responsive than our conventional model suggests, you can begin working directly with its underlying patterns. Here's a practical exercise that bridges dream consciousness and waking reality. Before sleep, identify a specific symbol that would be meaningful if it appeared in your waking life. Perhaps a butterfly, an unusual color, or a specific phrase. While falling asleep, visualize this symbol and set the intention to notice if it appears in either your dreams or waking experience. Record any occurrences for at least 2 weeks. The results often challenge our conventional understanding of coincidence and causality. Many practitioners report their chosen symbols appearing with frequencies that defy statistical probability, as if consciousness itself responds to focused attention across both dreaming and waking states. For those wanting to go deeper, dream incubation offers a powerful method for problem solving and insight. Before sleep, clearly formulate a specific question or problem. Write it down, then meditate on it as you fall asleep. Request a dream that provides insight or resolution. The effectiveness of dream incubation has been demonstrated in multiple studies, with success rates for receiving relevant dream content ranging from 50 to 70% after just a few attempts. Inventors, scientists, artists, and business leaders throughout history have used variations of this technique to access knowledge beyond their waking awareness. Perhaps most profound is the practice of dream healing, using dreams to influence physical and psychological well-being. The ancient Greeks built entire temples dedicated to this practice, and modern research is rediscovering its effectiveness. Dr. Leslie Cairns at the University of Michigan has conducted studies on directed dreaming for pain management, finding that patients who engaged in specific dream visualization techniques reported pain reduction averaging 38% compared to control groups. Other researchers have documented cases of dream experiences correlating with measurable physiological changes. For psychological healing, a technique called image rehearsal therapy has shown remarkable results for treating chronic nightmares and PTSD. By consciously reimagining the ending of recurring nightmares while awake, then incubating these new endings before sleep, studies show 70 to 90% of participants experience significant reduction in nightmare frequency and distress. But perhaps the most transformative application comes from recognizing what dream consciousness reveals about waking life. If waking reality is also a construction of consciousness, just a different mode than dreaming, then the fluidity and responsiveness you experience in lucid dreams might apply to waking life as well, just under different constraints. This understanding doesn't invalidate the physical world, but contextualizes it as one manifestation of a deeper reality, consciousness itself. As quantum physicist Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, stated, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." By developing greater awareness of how consciousness operates across both dreaming and waking states, you begin to recognize reality itself as more participatory than our conventional model suggests. The sharp division between inner and outer reality begins to dissolve, replaced by a more nuanced understanding of consciousness manifesting across a spectrum of experiences. This isn't just philosophical, it's practical. People who develop this integrated relationship with consciousness consistently report greater creativity, improved well-being, reduced anxiety, and an enhanced sense of meaning and purpose. The reality of your dreams ultimately points to something even more profound: the possibility that all experience, both sleeping and waking, emerges from a deeper field of consciousness that you can learn to navigate with increasing awareness, intention, and skill. We began this exploration with a simple question: why do your dreams feel so real? But as we've discovered, this question opens doorways to something far more profound, a fundamental reconsideration of consciousness and reality itself. The evidence we've examined from neuroscience, quantum physics, consciousness research, and ancient wisdom traditions all points toward a revolutionary understanding. Your dreams feel real because they are real experiences of consciousness, operating under different constraints than your waking experience. This doesn't mean dreams are the same as physical reality. Rather, both dreaming and waking represent different modes of the same fundamental consciousness, neither inherently more real than the other, just optimized for different types of experience. This understanding bridges the ancient and the cutting edge. When Aboriginal cultures speak of the dream time as an objective reality that can be accessed through dreaming, when Tibetan dream yoga practitioners describe dreams as training grounds for enlightenment, when quantum physicists suggest consciousness as fundamental to reality, they're describing different aspects of the same profound truth about the nature of experience. The practical implications of this understanding are extraordinary. By developing your relationship with dream consciousness through the practices we've explored, dream recall, lucid dreaming, dream incubation, and conscious reality creation, you're not just enhancing your sleep experience. You're developing your capacity to engage consciously with reality itself. Think of it this way. If both dreaming and waking are experiences generated by consciousness, then becoming more conscious within your dreams inevitably leads to becoming more conscious in your waking life as well. The boundaries between these states begin to dissolve, replaced by a more fluid, integrated relationship with consciousness across all its manifestations. This explains why people who develop dream consciousness report transformative effects in their waking lives, greater creativity, enhanced problem solving, improved relationships, and a deeper sense of meaning and purpose. They're not just remembering their dreams better. They're developing their fundamental relationship with consciousness itself. Perhaps most significantly, this understanding liberates us from the materialist paradigm that has dominated Western thinking for centuries. The assumption that reality is fundamentally physical, with consciousness as a mere byproduct of brain activity. The evidence increasingly suggests the opposite. Consciousness appears to be the foundation from which both physical and dream realities emerge. As physicist Sir James Jeans presciently observed nearly a century ago, the universe begins to look more like a great thought than a great machine. This shift doesn't invalidate science, it contextualizes it. Our physical instruments measure physical reality superbly, but they were never designed to measure consciousness directly. We've mistaken our inability to measure consciousness as evidence for its secondary nature, when it may be the primary reality from which everything else derives. The feeling of profound reality in your dreams isn't an illusion or trick of the brain. It's a momentary lifting of the veil, a glimpse into the vast nature of consciousness when partially freed from physical constraints. In this view, your dreaming mind isn't malfunctioning. It's functioning at a deeper level than your conventional waking awareness typically allows. This understanding carries profound implications for how we approach fundamental questions about existence. If consciousness is primary rather than secondary, then death may represent not an ending, but a transition in how consciousness manifests, similar to the transition between waking and dreaming, but on a larger scale. The evidence from lucid dreaming, near-death experiences, terminal lucidity, and non-local consciousness all suggest that consciousness may continue beyond physical life, albeit in forms we can barely comprehend from our current perspective, just as a fish cannot comprehend air while remaining underwater. But you don't need to wait for death to explore these deeper dimensions of consciousness. Your dreams provide a nightly opportunity to venture beyond the limitations of physical experience, to explore reality from a different vantage point and develop your capacity for consciousness itself. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, remember, you're not just shutting down, you're transitioning to another mode of consciousness that may have much to teach you. Set your intention to remember your dreams, to become lucid within them, to recognize them as authentic experiences rather than meaningless brain activity. With practice, the boundaries between dreaming and waking begin to soften. You'll start noticing how dream symbols appear in your waking life, how intuitions from dreams guide your decisions, how the creativity and freedom you experience while dreaming can infuse your waking hours. This isn't mystical fantasy, but the practical development of your consciousness across its full spectrum of possibilities. The more fluid and aware your relationship with consciousness becomes, the more you'll recognize reality itself as more responsive, more participatory, and more extraordinary than conventional models suggest. Your dreams feel real because they are real experiences of consciousness. And when you truly understand this, both your nights and days transform. Dream consciousness enhances waking consciousness. Waking awareness enriches dream experiences, and the artificial boundary between them gradually dissolves. In place of that boundary emerges something far more valuable, an integrated relationship with consciousness itself. The fundamental reality from which all experience, both dreaming and waking, ultimately derives. So tonight, as you close your eyes, remember, you're not just going to sleep. You're venturing into another dimension of your own consciousness, equally real and potentially even more revealing than your waking hours. The only question is, will you remember, and what might you discover? Sweet dreams, or perhaps more accurately, happy explorations of the consciousness you truly are.